grounded, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports, right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We have all kinds of things to discuss. Could it finally happen? I've been hearing since the World Cup of 1994 that soccer is going to take hold in America. Could it finally happen? And what will it take? Is Messi enough? Got some interesting numbers about ticket prices. Did you see this?
No.
Holy Moses. And by the way, how does it feel to be in Florida right about now with your sports? 2 8 seeds playing for the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Messi to Miami. Hello.
Florida State.
Florida State in the
World Series, yeah, finals.
Seems like the problem is for all these, it seems like it's all a bunch of losers.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of other states.
At least you're there.
Wish they were, yeah.
At least you're there.
There's other states just sitting back, twiddling their thumbs, watching, I guess, their baseball team lose. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to talk about this tomorrow too, but I saw those ticket prices, and I thought, holy cow, is it really possible? We'll talk about that. NBA Finals last night. Man, Denver's Stars were out in South Beach. So the Nuggets take a 2-1 lead in that NBA Finals series, probably kicking themselves for letting Miami come back in the fourth quarter of Game 2, or this thing is over. Is it over? Or is Miami, can they kind of even it up and then make it a 3-gamer? Interesting news in the NBA yesterday. CP3 waived in Phoenix. What does that mean?
Was that official?
Yeah,
I saw they were having discussions.
Yeah, and then they informed him they were going to waive him. But I think there's a possibility he's still there, just at a lot lower price. Or could he go somewhere else? Where else could he go? And then over the weekend, or first of this week, see the LeBron and Kyrie stuff?
I heard little rumblings about this rumor.
So we can hit that. College World Series, Women's College World Series Game 1 last night. Start, stop, delay. At the end of the day, it ended the way that the previous 51 had ended, and that's with an Oklahoma win. I didn't even think OU played good, really, and they won. I want to figure out. I mean, you're a softball coach.
For little kids, but yeah.
I want to. What is the deal with this pitching stuff? What is Florida State doing?
I have an opinion.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. We know who they're going to throw tonight, and if they don't, the town of Tallahassee may burn down if it's not Catherine Sandercock out there. Who do you think OU will throw? Who should they throw? And then this is going to be a hard question for Sooner fans. But now that the talk of moving the thing is kind of dwindled down, now it's all about the celebrations. And OU rubbing it in peace, which. Do they bother you? If you take off your crimson color, if this was happening the other way, would it bother you? 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That's 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. Talk about any of those things, whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. Going to be outside the listening area. A couple ways to stay in touch with the show. Log on to kadsam.com. Download the app. The app has got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of the Penny News hit the website Wednesday. Pick up a free copy today. It's everywhere. The print edition of the Penny News. Of course, Big Elk and Paragon TV there as well when the high school sports seasons are going. Skinny on Sports podcast is also available. If you miss the show entirely, you can find us anywhere, and I do mean anywhere you find other podcasts. that you listen to. Hello, Jared. How are you today?
I'm very good, very good.
I gotta, before we get into the sports part of it, it occurred to me when I was kind of listening to Jimmy give the weather report.
Yes.
Is this the longest stretch of amazing weather that you can remember in your life in the state of Oklahoma?
Yeah. I mean, this is most recently, sure. I'm sure there's been nicer back in our younger days when we didn't pay attention to it, but yeah, this is nice. This is real nice. I remember about a year ago, we were right there in the middle of a heat wave. The only reason I remember that is because we were supposed to play an end-of-season tournament, and it actually got postponed because of heat.
That's right.
Not because of rain or lightning. Heat. So, yeah, I mean, this is great. Last night, practice was awesome. It was awesome because it gave us a weather delay, and I was able to watch more or less the entire game last night.
The thing that I've noticed about this little stretch of weather, just for one thing that I really enjoy doing, and it doesn't happen very often, you know what hasn't happened with this weather? The wind.
Yeah, it's usually if we have a day without rain or heat, we have wind. And we haven't had
not much
weather.
all.
Gorgeous weather. I
Yeah.
mean, you mentioned earlier in the week I'm driving around this car, the loaner Porsche. Well, the AC doesn't work very well in that thing. The AC is roll down your windows, but it's been nice.
Yeah.
It's been perfect time to have to drive that thing around. Yeah. So I bet some scores have been really nice out at the golf course.
I don't know if anybody's used to being able to play without wind.
Right. Exactly.
Lining up way one way, thinking the wind's going to. It doesn't.
Not
It's
used to
not
just going
there.
right down the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I was thinking about that last night. I was like, man, it has just been. It hasn't. I think the rain has kind of cooled the air enough. Man, it's absolutely gorgeous for a long time here.
Maybe a touch of humid at its hottest parts of the day. A touch but nothing that's going to knock you down.
No.
Or make your shirt just sweat on your body.
Here's when I realized this.
Stick on your body.
When I was, I went to Walmart yesterday to get the list, food and all that kind of stuff, and now it's probably 5:30 or 6 o'clock maybe when I'm back to the car, loading up the car with the groceries out of the buggy. And when I got in my car, I took my hat off and I thought, I'm sweating. And then I got to thinking, you know what? I haven't sweat very much so far this summer.
No.
Hadn't been a lot of sweating going on.
Not a lot.
And then I started reflecting on the days. I'm like, man, it has been really good golf weather.
It's been real nice.
Real nice, Clark. Real
on the
nice
text line,
surprise.
make a good point. We might jinx it if we continue to talk about it.
I get it, but it's the way it goes. Yeah, I've heard that. Seen quail everywhere. I'm ready for biscuits with quail gravy.
Very good.
Yeah. All right, so last night, Game 1, Women's College World Series.
An interesting combination, but all right.
You ever had quail and biscuits?
I've had quail, not quail and biscuits now. It's like a morning thing?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Haven't had it.
Or you can do it in the evening. It's whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Who doesn't like quail? You fry the quail like you fry chicken, and then you use the drippings to make gravy?
Never had quail gravy.
It's one of Chuck's favorite things in life. He bemoaned that fact at the end that he hadn't got to have quail gravy in a long time. It sounds like a book.
Quail gravy.
Yeah. Just a little bit different
You don't
flavor.
see that on a menu, though. You don't go down to Janice's and see quail gravy.
Well, you don't go down anywhere and see quail on them very often on the menu.
It's a delicacy is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, quail isn't always there.
Right.
All right, so Game 1 last night of the Women's College World Series delayed, an hour to start, then like 35, 45 minutes after, half inning and an out, I guess. And then both teams went smoothly from there. I thought OU was a little shaky early. We talked about painting that picture of how beat them. I thought they gave Florida State that opportunity with a couple of errors. Jordy hit somebody, a few free passes while the offense wasn't going. If Florida State just could not get the big. They had runners on second and third. I think in the third inning, had runner on second in the first inning. They just couldn't drive anybody in. And that's sort of been Jordy Ball's MO throughout this playoff run, right? Especially in the World Series. It feels like, unlike anybody else in the tournament, when she gets somebody in scoring position, she really buckles down and then starts making her absolute best pitches from there, and is able. How many times has she? The Stanford game, first and second, in the seventh inning?
Yeah.
And when nobody out, and she's out of it and starts making the really, really tough pitches.
Or her coming back from a 3-0 and able to get the out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, I think FSU, even though it's a 5-0 game by the end that OU wins, I really thought there was chances for Florida State to kind of take control and really put the pressure on the Sooners early on.
I did too. And you're right. I mean, that was painting the picture, and my heart kind of sunk because I thought, what we talked about is actually coming true with the uncharacteristic errors. They had a couple of them there. I mean, the best fielding team in the nation. Everybody talks about their bats, but I've always kind of leaned on that they play really, really, really good defense behind that pitching. And then the errors, but leaving runners on, and Florida State did. Credit Jordy Ball for not getting flustered. She committed one of those errors, like you said, and they stayed the course, and then the bats came alive. And then it almost became what I thought could happen, a run rule.
So did the bats come alive, or did Florida State's coaching staff allow them?
Well, it was funny because you know how it works for me. When you get that second time around the lineup, those second at-bats, that's when you see good teams really start to make them pay. And then, of course, Florida State, they pulled the pitcher and they put in the young lady who did not have success. She was not having a good World Series. 4 illegal pitches?
Yeah, and OU shelled her in that first game.
Exactly.
When they showed that stat line and that she was coming in, I really expected to see, okay, this is the one that kind of kept them at bay. And then they showed she threw like 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. I'm like,
2 runs.
Yeah. I'm like, never mind.
I saw that stat line. All I could think about was, what's a bold move, Cotton? Let's see if it pays off for
and then
them.
they just started teeing off.
And they did. You can see it. They were kind of just – you can see it in their demeanor, their body language, even the looks on their faces, like, we're going to have a good night now that she's in there. And they did. They produced runs, and the rest is history.
I thought that it was either Michelle Smith or Jessica Mendoza or both on the call, made a great point. As soon as the pitching change happened, and OU started just blistering the softball at that point, and they talked about how Mac Leonard, their starter, Florida State starter, how she was almost kind of the perfect pitcher to hold OU down, because where did she miss? She always missed low. And it was hard to elevate. It was hard to hit it in the gap. OU didn't even hit a home run last night. But then the rise ball came from the lefty, and that's when it was like, okay, it's like chum in the water, and the Sharks were ready to go. And at that point, it was just, the way that Jordy had it rolling, you really were, I was pretty comfortable as soon as OU scored 1, and then they got 3. And I thought, okay, well, this is the way she's rolling this thing.
It felt like
it was almost to where it wasn't going to be one swing, like we had talked about. It was going to take, but a couple of those errors, and that one swing could have happened early, it just didn't. And so now, man, if I'm a Florida State fan, there's one part that I'm really encouraged by, and that is we're going to pitch our best pitcher. What a crazy idea that is! What in the world are they thinking? What is Alameda thinking?
I think
it's a 3-game series,
right?
Why wouldn't if you're going to give one, just give up game 2?
You overthink it when you're in these kind of situations against these kind of teams and like OU. And I think what they were thinking is maybe we can get some good breaks, some lucky breaks, and steal game 1, and then have Sandercock go out there for game 2. And those errors were there, and there were those opportunities. So you can blame Florida State for not turning those runners into runs, not pushing those runs across. They had the opportunities more than once. And if they had done that and then somehow OU kept booting the ball around or the bats went silent, that's just a chance you take. But those unconventional things that we've always talked about you have to do to give yourself a chance. So I think in their mind they were thinking, let's see if we can steal this one.
See, I don't have a problem with how they started.
Yeah.
Because, for one thing, it worked, but also because of the style that Leonard throws, it's a good one to combat what OU does. But when you get it to the fourth inning at 0-0, you have, if you're going to change your pitcher, you have to bring in Sandra Cox.
They should have brought her in the second.
And I get they were, if they ever got ahead, that's what was going to happen.
Right.
They just never got ahead. So a hit here or a hit there, maybe we're sitting here going, man, what a brilliant strategy. But from the first, and we've already had this conversation with what Tennessee tried to do. It doesn't. It's one thing to try to be unconventional, and I get it. But it's another to have an All-American that you're going to throw 2 games. Why not do exactly what Patty did and go game 1 and game 3? And if she does a great job, maybe she's ready to go today too.
Right.
I mean, and I know that was a big part of their season, and that how they changed the kind of the formula. And the last time they were in this position, Sandra Cox literally just ran out of gas because she had to throw nearly every inning of the World Series that year. So they're trying to combat that, understand. But at the same time, I mean, it just feels like when with this strategy, the way that she carried it through, you're essentially giving up a game. So now you give up one, and you're expecting to win them both.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and that stat of 78% of the teams that win game 1 win the series since they've switched to this format. But you mentioned, from a coaching perspective, just win the damn game. Just go win.
Well, and who gives you the best chance to win?
Exactly.
It's clearly Sandra
That's what
Cox.
I'm saying. Exactly. You got to take it one game at a time. You can't overthink it and think it way down the road in situations like this. Just go and put your best versus best available. I've always been told that. You got your best available, throw them. Give yourself a shot. But there's something about the allure of OU softball right now that makes people overthink it and question themselves and make wrong decisions more so than right decisions.
I mean, it felt like that she wasn't going to start. I think just the lead up to it, you kind of had that idea. But once again, you get one time through the lineup, and take her out. Take Leonard out. That's fine. But you don't bring in somebody that they shelled.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Scott, we may just
does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Does it really matter? OU is just rolling so much right now, and like I said, there's a legend that's growing about this team and this program that makes people do funny things. But we're witnessing history. We're witnessing dominating history in the levels of, say, UCLA men's basketball, UConn women's basketball, Alabama football, OU football back in their heyday in the 50s, and so what? So does it matter? I mean, we can break down, we can point fingers at Florida State's decisions, but they're probably going, we're doing everything we can to try to combat history here.
Yeah, and just the way the game. But here's
inevitable.
The deal: it does matter because the way the game started, they could have taken control.
You're right. Yes, they could.
And they
absolutely.
And then they didn't. And then it was like, okay, they just kind of quit. Once Oklahoma scored those 3, and I don't blame them for not bringing her in when it was 3-0, because the way that Jordy Ball was throwing, there's no sense in putting her in then. It's too late. It's over at that point. So we know that Sandra Cox is going to throw tonight. There's no doubt about that. And I would say probably the next 2 if it happens that way. Who do you think Patty throws?
I honestly think she throws May. I think she throws May, and because she's just as a great, not as a dominant pitcher as Ball, but I wondered, and you saw there at the top of the 7th, Ball and Patty kind of looking at each other, kind of communicating by head shakes, and Patty was almost asking her, "You want to come out? Want me to get you out of there?" And she's like, "No, let me get her. I'll get her." So, they kind of mentioned that the broadcaster's like, "Well, are they showing too much by leaving Ball in there too long? If she's going to go tomorrow, and then Florida State's going to see her, be used to her." But I think they do start May, and then I think you could see Ball coming in relief if she's in trouble, or even coming in to close like we've seen before, come into the final 3 outs. But
I think that's what's going to happen too.
My educated guess is May.
I would say May. It wouldn't shock me if it was Storako, even though she hadn't thrown much. I just don't think you're going to see Jordy to start because now OU has that game in their back pocket. Now there is the idea. Here's the thing: if Mudge doesn't make that catch, and it's a run rule on Haley Lee's 3-run home run, I think you might have seen Jordy to start again today. But she ended up getting right to 100. I think 97 pitches was what she ended up throwing. That would have saved her, 20 at least in that last inning. Then I think there might have been a real conversation about just bringing her back, stepping on their throat, and being done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, having to throw that seventh inning, I think you'll see May or maybe all three of them.
But Ball should come in and pinch run.
I mean,
Isn't
listen,
that fun with her? That's
get,
a great idea by Patty. Just take her mind off of pitching. Let's get her out there to run. She got the first run of the game.
I get that. I get the story that was Canada and how she was able to hold OU down. And that's cute and it's cool and she did a heck of a job. But the MVP of this tournament is Jordy Ball, and it's not close. It's absolutely not close. She's just been incredible. Hasn't given up a run. Walked 2, struck out, ended up being
Are you talking about
29.
the World Series or the entirety
postseason? Of the postseason. But the World Series,
exactly. The
obviously.
postseason, she's been fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's just been incredible. And I think that people getting to see that maybe haven't watched OU, thinking, what are they doing? Why is she running? And then start to figure out she's one of the better athletes on the team.
She can actually hit when they let her.
So I'm with you. I think we see May to start.
You know who's going to be a star, just a side note? That freshman from, I think, Arizona. She came in and pinch hit last night. She hit a
ripped
rope
it to center field.
Twice. And she came in against Stanford, and she put bat the ball. Her stats aren't that bad for her freshman year. I told Allie last night, keep an eye on. Remember this name. She's going to be.
Do you remember
one.
The name?
I know. I cannot.
I think you're talking about Jocelyn Erickson.
Yes, Erickson. Yes, I remember the Jocelyn. I was like, oh, we're going to have another Jocelyn big hitter, or another star for OU softball named Jocelyn. I think so.
So, okay, it was a big focal point of the broadcast last night because of the questions that were asked to the Sooners and the way that they answered them, and that is the unapologetic nature of their celebrations. Take off your crimson-colored glasses. If it was somebody else, if it was the other way around, does it bother you?
Okay, well, remember you're asking a girl dad here.
Does it bother you?
And a guy that's heavily involved in softball with my kids in coaching. And stuff that we preach to our kids is, and I guess it doesn't bother me because you'll see it when we're playing on the other side. The only time it would ever bother me if it's directed towards a team. If they're looking at us and they're waving their arms or clapping in our face or something like that. But it's the game of softball. You hear the chants and that mojo, that juju that they build up. And if that's what they have kind of pointed out in their answers, and other OU defenders will point out too, is that they're celebrating with each other. They're not celebrating at another team. So, but I think it's a part of the game. It's a part of the sport in softball with the chants and the overreactive response, the overreactive celebrations as some are looking at it as, but it's not directed towards the other team. They're looking back at their dugout going, okay, let's go, and trying to build up that momentum. I don't have a problem with it, but again, that's coming from a guy that tells our girls, you guys got to get up. You got to get up in the dugout. Let's go. Root on your team. You get walked, that's huge. You're on base. You could score the next swing of the bat.
How about when it affects the game?
When is it? Give me an example.
Oh, last night when the celebration at second base hit Riley Boone's hand and gave her another base.
That was such an anomaly.
That's
crazy.
That
crazy.
It literally did affect the game.
That
at
is
that point.
Crazy.
Listen, here's the thing about it. It's so softball centric. I think you make a great point there, because I promise you, if that was happening on the top of the hill, up here at the Fiveplex,
Yeah.
Everyone would be rolling their eyes and pulling their sons out of the dugout and saying, "Stop it. Quit."
Right.
You're an embarrassment to baseball, but that's the key. It's baseball.
It's baseball. That's the thing. And I think that's what some people have a problem with it. Don't understand. They're not watching enough softball. One, they're put out because OU's winning and winning and winning and winning, and they're not a part of this. They're a Texas fan or whoever. And two, they don't watch enough softball to understand this has been happening for years and years, and not just at OU. Look about when Canada struck out somebody, she freaked out every time. It didn't bother me.
That's right.
You know what bothered me, though? At one point, their shortstop was waving at the batter as she walked back to the dugout.
It was the center fielder.
Was it the center fielder? I couldn't tell. It was over her
Yeah,
right shoulder.
yeah.
That bothered me.
Yeah,
nobody's talking about that, but they lost, so no one's talking about it.
I mean, an OU fan can never – I don't care what the other team does. And it could be getting up in somebody's face. I don't care. An OU fan can never criticize another team about celebrations, in my opinion. Because
in softball or ever?
In softball.
Okay.
Because of what they do. I mean, like I said, I don't care if it's waving from center field. I don't
feel
care
like
what it is.
It just felt like when I saw that, and I kind of wanted to overanalyze it. Was she waving at? Who's she waving at? She waved, and that's where I have an issue. If you're waving,
yeah, but you can't.
Bye, bye.
But you can't. You can't. Even though your team does it with their own team, they have created kind of this conversation. And you know what? On the text line, Scott, I think he's exactly right. It's all to it's all to manufacture the energy.
That's what I said. Yeah, the
because
Mojo.
They are so good. And I actually think this conversation has helped them throughout this series.
They're just going to do it more.
Well,
yeah.
and it takes your mind off winning a third national championship, being only the second team ever do that. Takes your mind off of continuing the longest winning streak ever. You can turn your focus and your energy on something. How in the world can a team with 52 straight wins and back-to-back national titles find a chip to put on their shoulder?
Right.
Well, they have throughout this. And so it's pretty amazing. Like if I was everybody else, I'd just shut up. Whatever you do, just be quiet. Don't criticize. Just all you gotta do is just, man, they are the best team ever. You know, that kind of talk, and try to get that built up.
Yeah.
And like Nick Saban will say, rat poison.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But instead, there's this conversation, and the questions asked to them, and all it's doing is providing motivation for a team that seemingly would need it. You know?
Yeah. Did you hear what Bob Stoops said?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
had the perfect coach response.
Listen, he's a perfect OU coach response. Bob ain't gonna have a problem with nothing. But it's I think for what they do and how they do it, it's as good. It's as genuine because it's not trying to show up anybody. It's just a way to create the energy that team feeds off of. And last night it hit the girl's hand, hit Riley Boone's hand. She got to take off to third. That was totally – you'll never see that again. And, like, we got here on the text line, if you hit the cutoff man, that never happens anyway.
Well, that twice they missed the cutoff man. Florida State, that is, and it cost them. And that's a good point. If they hit the cutoff man, that doesn't happen.
But
stuff that kept standing out. And they pointed it out on the broadcast, but stuff I'm yelling at 10-year-olds.
I just know this. If I'm Florida State, I'm thinking – we're toast. Last night was the one we had a chance to win. We even without Sander Cock out there, we could have jumped on them. We had a chance to really rattle this team. We didn't, and they played about a C- game. It beat us 5-0. Uh-oh.
Without one spectacular play, it could have been a run rule.
Yeah, and it was a run rule without a great play in left field. It's just like, God. But it goes to the point that we've said as soon as the playoffs started, OU forces you to be perfect. And even last night, they weren't. And it was 5-0. So.
Twice threatening run rule.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, again, the word inevitable is thrown around. It's just.
Feels like it.
Feels like it.
Another natty for Patty coming tonight. Interested to see, let's just pretend like Sander Cock shuts them down. Boy, then Lonnie Alameda's really going to have something to answer for. Yeah, Jada Coleman's throw, that was an incredible play.
That was awesome.
Incredible play. It's just, it is what it is, man. You said it yesterday. We've been trying to create kind of scenarios, not against OU, but ways to find
like what if,
what
how,
ifs.
like what would it take?
A miracle.
That's pretty much it.
Because the problem is, yes, Florida State had those chances early, but as soon as they didn't capitalize, like they know. That's the thing. They know that they messed up. They know that OU knows that they messed up. And then OU knows that they know that OU knows that they messed up. You know what I mean? It's this is your chance. And it didn't happen. Third shutout in 4 games for OU pitching. That's the most since 2014 Florida squad. Hard to beat, man. And, I mean, asking Florida State to beat them back-to-back now when they've lost one game and what are they now, 59-1? 60-1?
So, I mean, it's
a bunch.
It's a bunch.
It seems like an impossible task now for the Seminoles. All right, NBA Finals Game 3 last night down in South Beach. Man, did Denver Stars show up when they needed them most. I asked you this yesterday. I found the stat going into last night. There had been 40 times where the NBA Finals was tied 1-1. The Game 3 winner won 32 of those, which was 80%. And actually, like 3 of those 8 times have been in the last decade. San Antonio won Game 3 in 2013, and then Miami won the series. Golden State lost Game 3 to Cleveland back in 2015 in the first title of this run. And then, of course, they did it last year as well. After Boston took a 2-1 lead, Golden State to win that series. So it's really it's been an even higher percentage than 80 that the winner of Game 3 wins the series. The numbers are staggering coming out of this game. Jokic and Murray became the first teammates to both have 30-point triple-doubles in the same game ever. I'm not just talking about like finals. I'm not just talking about the playoffs. I'm talking about ever. An NBA game had never seen that happen with two teammates having 30-point triple-doubles. Jokic is now the 5th guy in all-time in the finals to score 100 points in his first 3 finals games. Names are pretty good. Got any idea?
We could be here all day.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
He's not on there. I knew you were going to say him. He's not on there. Rick Barry, Allen Iverson, Willis Reed, and Giannis. Last night was the first time anybody had ever had a 30-20-10 game. So Jokic had 30 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists. First time in finals history that had happened. It's his 3rd career playoff game like that. How many other games like that do you think there have been all-time in the postseason?
I'll say 5 or less.
He's had 3. He's had 3.
He's had 3 of them.
There's only been 2 others.
Oh, well, right on. 5.
Kareem and Wilt each had 1.
Man, that is good company.
Oh, my gosh. And you see these stats as he's going along there. There was one about halftime that it was only him and LeBron and Giannis maybe. It's just every game. Jokic is putting up these numbers that only the select greatest of all time have put up. But that was, to me, that was the essence and the difference in this series. Denver's got the best 2 players. And so they should win. I know everybody loves Jimmy Butler. I mean, I heard him talking yesterday afternoon about he's a surefire Hall of Famer, and I had to go check his stats. Like, what? I mean, I get it. He's pretty good in the playoffs. He's been really good in the playoffs. But Hall of Fame? What? Jokic is a Hall of Famer. And he played like it last night. And Murray was awesome. And Denver takes the lead 2-1. How much chance do you give Miami from here on out?
Very, very little, if not any. Very little. Because I'm sticking with 5, so I'm going to stay with that. Very little chance. I think Game 2 woke up Denver, it looked like. And I said it earlier or yesterday. I think the key is Murray. I mean, Jokic will get those stats. He'll be awesome. He needs that complementary piece, and Murray is that. And if they're going to do that, that's unstoppable.
Well, and it kind of proves the point of Game 2 when Jokic only had 4 assists.
Yeah.
They were like 14 and 17 in games where he doesn't have 10. They're now 35 and 4 in games when he has more than 10 assists. And that it's not only Murray, it's everybody else that gets into the act and not just kind of bogging down watching Jokic score, which he can do, and he's plenty good at doing that. But, man, that's when you watch NBA basketball, you watch these high leveraged playoff games, that's what you expect to see. Mm-hmm. The stars be the stars. And the problem for Miami is they don't have anybody on their team like Jokic and Murray. Butler's good, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Butler has had an outstanding playoff run, and he's one of those guys that you would love to have on your team because he's carried these guys in a lot of ways to where they've gotten, but eventually you run into more talented team. And listen, they've beaten a couple of them. But it just feels like the Nuggets have everything. The Nuggets are going to win this series, and I think you're right. It may be just as quick as 5 games. I mean, I thought it was going to be a sweep, and now I'm kind of mad at Denver for blowing Game 2 in the fourth quarter. That's all we'd be talking about.
Well, this is the game I picked them to lose in this 5-game sweep or 5.
Well, if they're up 2-0, it's the game you thought they might lose.
Exactly.
But being 1-1, it made it a lot harder to lose that one.
Yeah, but again, I think Game 2 woke them up. Speaking of waking up, are the Miami fans going to wake up?
Okay, so do you know what I'm talking about? They're there to start, but then if you'll notice, coming out of the halftime locker room, it was like they were all getting mojitos and whatever, and they weren't back on the floor, and that's when Denver really kind of took control.
Right.
Outscored them 29-20 in the third quarter, and that early part of that third when everybody was still at the concession stand. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's embarrassing if I'm a Miami fan or a Miami Heat player even. I mean, they're notorious. I mean, remember I can't remember the finals where they looked like they were done and they were exiting in droves the arena, and then LeBron and crew brought them back, and they're running back, trying to get back in to watch the final. That's an embarrassing look, but that's notorious for Miami. You see that all the time. Now, I think it's a thing.
Yeah,
there. When that I mentioned, I'm going to title this show Mojo. When that Mojo's gone, because of you're desperately in line to get your drinks or popcorn or whatever, and you can't make it back in time. Yeah, that's a bad look.
Yeah, Denver went out.
But they're not the only one. I mean, we see that. You see it throughout the league. But I mean, this is the NBA freaking finals.
Yeah.
I mean, hold it if you got to go so bad. Right? Get back to your seat and twirl the towel and go crazy. It's the finals. You got a shot. Your series tied 1-1. You're at home.
The one thing that Denver was able to do that not a lot of teams have been able to, at least on that floor down there at Miami during these playoffs, they actually shot more free throws than Miami did. The Heat have been really good at knocking down threes and getting to the free throw line a ton. Like the modern, analytic, perfect game. Get to the rim, either lay it in or get fouled, or kick it out and shoot a three. Last night, only 11 of 35 from behind the arc. Denver only made 5 of 18, which is, if you'd have kind of told Miami fans that Denver's going to make 5 of 18 from 3, probably felt pretty decent about your chances. But Denver did a really good job of getting to the line, 22 of 27. So they shot 8 more free throws than Miami did. And so that kind of counteracts the 6-3 discrepancy that they were down, 11-5 as far as makes. But it was 6 less makes on 17 less attempts. So that just tells you Denver controlled the painted area all night long. Shoot over 50%. And text line's right. Miami, they live and die by the 3. If they'll knock down a whole bunch of them like they did in Game 2, they're going to have a chance to win. If they can't, they won't. And even the game they did almost shoot 50% from 3, they still should have lost. Denver still had that game won. So this is – I'm afraid it's the mismatch we all thought it was. And Denver It's speaking of inevitable. Boy, it feels like it's inevitable that the Nuggets win this series, and I think it's sooner rather than later. So CP3 was waived yesterday in Phoenix. There's been a lot of reports flying around out there that they're desperately trying to offload DeAndre. Now they offload Chris Paul. Is this a move for something bigger, or is this a move Ayton, bring back CP, just not near at the price tag that he would have cost them, and then try to build their team from there? Or is it Kyrie to Phoenix?
Oh, Kyrie to Phoenix.
Yeah.
It feels like a cost-cutting measure with what they're trying to do. Now, I don't know if they're going to try to keep Chris Paul there or not. I don't know. They said they had meetings with him prior to this decision, so maybe that meeting involved, listen, we're going to cut you but re-sign you at a cheaper rate because we want to be more flexible with the money and get some more help in here, or pay some guys and keep him here. We're going to offload this person. So I don't think this would have happened if he, would sign off on it. I mean, he deserves that much in any franchise for what he's given to this league in his time. But so as I say it out loud, I think he might stay. But but the Ayton thing is interesting. I didn't hear the Kyrie thing. The thing I was hearing about Kyrie was him trying to get LeBron to join him.
Yeah, there was that in Dallas.
How much smoke is there? I mean, is that real, or is that just a lot of banter?
I think it's banter. LeBron reportedly was quoted as saying, "I'll think about it." I wonder if
of course, because he wants people to keep talking about him.
Well, is the CP3 move? Then now does he have the ability to maybe take a veterans minimum there at LA with the Lakers?
I wrote that down. It's like, what happens next without me talking it out like I just did. But I did think, going to LA and maybe join up with LeBron.
That's a possibility, I would think.
Possibility, but
Boston.
Does that excite anybody? I mean, I love CP. We all do. He's such a good dude, and his time here in Oklahoma City with two teams, and kind of rooting for him to actually break through and get a title. But let's be real here. I mean, he's on the older side of NBA age. Does he really help anybody?
In
win
spurts,
a title?
In spurts, I think he can, but he's not the focal point of anything anymore.
And on top of that, I mean, let's face it, LeBron's getting old too. I mean, does that work? I mean, do you put those two together? I mean, it just seems like age pairing with age.
If I'm him, I'd go to Boston.
That would actually, that looks good to me.
I'd go to Boston or Miami. Miami, he would look good there as a kind of a Kyle Lowry replacement. Even though he's older, it feels like he's a better player. One of those. Mm-hmm. And then the LeBron. Yeah, Dallas is an interesting spot. Because for as good as he is and as well thought of as Luka Doncic is, I don't know how many people are wanting to play with him. Early on, he kind of dazzled with his passing, and you kind of thought, man, this guy, he's going to have everybody wanting to play with him. Then as time has gone on and seasons have kind of started stacking up, now he seems to have the reputation of just kind of a guy that won't pass, more of a ball hog type guy. It's weird how much of a 180 I think the idea of him has changed since he came in the league to now. And so, I mean, Dallas looks to be in a pretty good spot. Just on the surface, they've got Kyrie and Doncic. But you think there's a better chance that they build? I mean, it feels like we're going away from super teams, more of the twosomes.
It does feel like that.
Depending on what Kyrie does. I mean, he could be out in L.A. with Anthony Davis and LeBron, and then all of a sudden we're back to that era. But it felt like we're getting away from that. And money was a big part of it, and the CBA, I think, hopefully protects that as well when they kind of figure out what they're going to do for the next one. But do you think there's a better chance that Dallas ends up with, say, LeBron And Kyrie, is it just Doncic and Kyrie? Or in 2 years, is Dallas got nothing? Doncic included. He's out of there going somewhere else.
So you're asking what's happened like in 2 years or
I mean,
start of next season?
Yeah, started. I mean, you think there's a better chance they're a super team or a nothing?
Wow, I don't know. I actually think it's good night. I mean, has Doncic become that toxic where in 2 years Dallas doesn't even want him? Then who would?
Well,
want
he
him?
wants something else.
He wants something.
He wants
He
out.
would want something else. I could go with nothing.
I'm afraid that's where this is headed. Dallas just, man, think back to the title run with Dirk and how that thing is just kind of disintegrated. They finally have a pick this year. Finally. It's strange that they never were able to get the free agents like you thought they would be able to, you know? Mm-hmm. They just never have been able to. And, you know, Dallas seems like one of those, it's no state income tax state, you know?
Yeah.
Big metropolitan area. And it just hasn't worked out. I mean, it feels like Cuban treats his dudes great. I don't know why. I'd love to know why. That it just hasn't worked out on the free agent market with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sure we'll get to talk about this in the morning when Scott drops by. But huge news worldwide yesterday. I mean, as much as we can make fun of it a little bit. But it is huge news. With Lionel Messi coming to the MLS to play for Inter Milan. Messi is the first MLS player all time to have won the Golden Boot at the World Cup. And you mentioned Beckham yesterday. There's no doubt that was a humongous thing when David Beckham decided to play for the LA Galaxy. And now, do you realize who owns Inter Miami?
Is it A-Rod?
David Beckham. It's part of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he turned that $100 million into the $60 million purchase of Inter Miami, and now here we are. Yeah, he's in that group or is the owner. It feels like this actually might be it. I mean, Messi's a little older. We all know that, but he's coming off the World Cup finals win with Argentina. Is this it? Is this the seminal moment in U.S. soccer history where it really did take hold?
It garners some attention. If I see an MLS game on, I might see who's playing. If it's not Miami, I'm probably not going to watch. But if it is Miami, I'll probably tune in until I'm bored. But it does garner some attention. You did mention that ticket sales are already starting to go a little crazy. Is it just in the city of Miami or where Miami will be going to? People want to see this guy, and that's interesting to me. I mean, people want to see this guy.
Yeah, so
I mean, is he a GOAT? He is one of the greatest of all time when it comes to soccer.
Oh, no doubt.
Which is saying something. There's a lot of greats.
So you mentioned that ticket deal? Did you see the tickets?
No.
So in Miami, it's cheaper. It was cheaper to get a ticket to last night's Game 3 of the NBA Finals than it is to get a ticket to Messi's first game.
Well,
now,
yeah.
I get it. The seats are much more limited. It's like 10,000 something at the soccer deal, and $20,000 at the basketball arena. But that is an amazing statement. I know the StubHub tickets for that game went from $81 to like $464 as soon as that was announced.
They'd move it to like, what is it, Hard Rock Stadium? Is that what it's called now? You think they'd move it there? They don't play it there. They played at a more smaller venue.
Yeah, it's their own. They have their own.
Okay, kind of like the Galaxy have their own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great, and also keep in mind that the culture in Miami, you have a lot of the international flair down there that are really interested in soccer.
Oh, it's a great place for him to be.
Yes. So it's a great spot to start in the MLS. And there's great fan bases for the soccer team. I know Seattle really embraced their soccer up there, and There's other places, but back to your original question. I mean, is this it? I don't think so. I think what needs to is this it as far as launching Major League Soccer as one of the, up there with the NBAs and Major League Baseball and all those. I don't think so. It doesn't hurt, but I don't think this is it. I think what needs to happen is that the U.S. needs to produce their own international star.
See, that's what I wrote down.
Not a star, an international star that is considered like a Messi or a Ronaldo or whatever. That's a guy that he's known internationally as that guy is a footballer. That guy can play.
Which also leads hand in hand with U.S. men have to be able to make a run.
And that's why I wrote down here to compete at a high level, and I'm talking World Cup / Olympics.
Yes. I think this gets eyeballs. There's no doubt about that. Because even this name is big enough that even the people that don't really watch soccer but are sports fans, they know who Lionel Messi is, or at least have heard of it.
Yeah, yes.
And so that draw, I'm interested.
There's not a lot of soccer guys that if I ran into in the street that I would know who they are.
Recognize them, yeah.
He's a face I would recognize.
Right. And you'd have to be looking down to make sure you'd see his face because he's a little bit. I think that's it. I think this can be the moment. It can be, but it has to be coupled. This is like the start of the foundation of it, then leading into, the next World Cup here. I mean, that's the time.
Yeah, the timetable.
It's this right here leading into the World Cup here, and making a deep run and having someone, whether or not it's Pulisic, whether or not it's somebody else, become a global star.
Yes.
And then, maybe he can put MLS on the map to a level that nobody has, and then you get better players, and then all of a sudden your league. It's not just, it's not just the Premier League. It's not just Bundesliga. Look at me go.
It's pretty good.
It's not just Serie A. MLS is considered kind of up there with all those things. And it's not right now. So, but man, it's as much as there's been a whole bunch of big-time news in sports for this week, there's been an incredible amount of stuff. Worldwide, this is the biggest one.
Yeah, it was huge.
And then
you think so?
And
bigger than the Live PGA?
Yeah.
You think this is bigger than that?
Oh, 100%. Just because worldwide, soccer matters more than golf.
That's true.
And then maybe the other guy, because he turned down hundreds of millions to play in the Saudi league. Messi did. The other guy didn't. He's making $225 million a year.
Wow.
And guess what else I saw yesterday from Albert Breer. That's a reputable NFL reporter guy.
Uh-huh.
On what could be the next move for the Saudis?
What's that? Bringing an NFL game over there?
Owning an NFL team.
Owning a team.
Yeah.
Quick note before we go.
Go ahead.
Vikings have announced running back Dalvin Cook being released.
I just saw this.
So Cook and Zeke looking for homes. Shock? Thought he had some more gas in his tank.
Well, it just goes to show you how devalued the running back position truly is.
That's true.
They've got to make way to be able to sign Justin Jefferson. They got bigger fish to fry with the salary cap that they have available to them. Probably doesn't mean that they wouldn't want to kind of do what we were talking about with Chris Paul in Phoenix. Cut him and sign him for less.
Right. Which, there's still rumblings of that happening with Zeke in Dallas.
Yeah, I just seen a picture of Dalvin Cook with the guys down in Miami, and would this be the best offense in the league?
Ooh,
be a pretty good one.
That'd be pretty good. I wouldn't argue against that.
Be a pretty good one. Might look good in Dallas.
Wouldn't be a bad fit there either. Well, Pollard said he's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Speaking of the celebrations, what do you think would happen if, say, Jada Coleman hits a home run and does what Will Brinson did last night for the Reds. Did you see that?
No, what'd he do?
Pull up Eddie Radosevich's Twitter. So he hits a home run, a walk-off home run. By the way, his first in his career. And he literally hits it and turns around to the dugout, and he says, "This is my effing something." Slams his bat down and then takes off.
To the opposing dugout?
No, to his own.
Oh.
To his own. But it was, incredible.
Okay, where's the vitriol for this?
Yeah.
It's for his teammates.
His first ever home run.
But back to what you said, this is baseball. But yeah,
I
imagine
bet
Coleman
he takes
doing
one in
that.
I bet he takes one in the chops.
Imagine Coleman doing that though. That's
kind of welcome to the MLB, rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Man, the Reds, him and what was that other guy they just called up, and he hit a home run in his second game. Eddie De La Cruz, maybe? Hit one 458 last night.
Wow.
Little-looking guy, too. All right, that'll do it for the Thursday edition. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way